My boyfriend, Jiang Yufeng, is a genius renowned in the field of mathematics. However, I can't even figure out simple functions. He abhors all fools in the world, and naturally, I am no exception. In order to enter the same university as him, I studied with all my might. But he said indifferently, "You're slow-witted. No matter how hard you try, it's in vain." Just as he had anticipated, he was admitted to Jingda University with the top score in the province, while I, due to a 3-point difference, missed the opportunity to enter Jingda. In the year of our university graduation, I proposed to break up with him, and he didn't pester me. Nevertheless, later, that proud and rational man, disregarding the security guard's Julan, burst into my engagement party. His eyes red, he asked me, "Why choose him and abandon me?" I took my fiancé's hand and said firmly, "He has never disdained me for being stupid." He looked at me in disbelief and asked again, "Just for this?" I nodded earnestly and replied, "Just for this." On the day Jiang Yufeng participated in the mathematics competition, I specifically waited for him outside the examination hall. Under the scorching sun, I carried the iced water and snacks I had prepared for him, and held a bouquet of flowers. I almost got sunstroke from waiting before finally seeing him come out with his classmates. I immediately greeted him joyfully, only to see him frown and ask, "What are you doing here?" I grinned and replied, "I came to accompany you for the exam. By the way, for such an important exam, why didn't you tell me?" He didn't take the things in my hands and said coldly, "What's the use of telling you? Can you understand?" I froze in place, feeling somewhat awkward. At this moment, Jiang Yufeng's classmate, Jiang Yao, came over. She sized me up, and her gaze stopped on the painting board I was carrying. She asked, "Yufeng, is this your girlfriend who studies art?" Jiang Yufeng gave a reluctant "Sriho," Jiang Yao said casually, "she's really beautiful. It seems that men are all visual animals, only looking at the face. You're no exception." I subconsciously clenched my fingers and secretly looked at Jiang Yao. This was the first time I had seen her, because Jiang Yufeng never introduced his circle to me. Every time he would impatiently snap at me, "You're not in the same circle. What's the use of you knowing them? He is a math genius while I am a fool. He can easily get a full score, but the textbook full of numbers and graphs is like a book from heaven to me." In order to catch up with his pace, I crammed desperately and stayed up all night to study. But in the end, I still missed the enrollment of Jingda University by a 3-point difference. When Jiang Yufeng was admitted to Jingda University as the provincial top scorer, in order to be closer to him, I chose an art university near Jingda. At that time, Jiang Yufeng sneered, "It suits you well." He always said that learning to paint doesn't require brains, and is something for children from wealthy families to waste money and pass the time. So it suits me. Jiang Yufeng doesn't often share his personal affairs with me, but he has mentioned this Jiang Yao several times. Jiang Yao is competitive. Just because someone said in high school that girls are not suitable for studying science, she defiantly chose the mathematics major. Their names often appear side by side on the school's good news announcements, and they are known as the 2 gems of the School of Mathematics at Jingda. Now that I finally see her in person, she truly lives up to being the girl admired by Jiang Yufeng. She is sharp, intelligent, and even her words that pierce the heart are to the point. Jiang Yufeng probably likes her very much. Jiang Yufeng's teacher called to say that they would celebrate the end of the competition. Jiang Yufeng and Jiang Yao walked in front, still discussing the test questions enthusiastically. I followed slowly behind. It took Jiang Yufeng a long time to notice. He turned his head to look at me and asked, "Why are you following?" I held the things in my hands and explained dryly, "Aren't you going to have a celebration banquet? I should be able to go, right?" His brows knitted together, and with a straight face, he sighed helplessly and said, "How can I make you understand? That's a gathering of our fellow disciples. What are you going for? Do you have a common topic with us? Can you understand what we're talking about?" Jiang Yufeng is right. I really can't understand. The things he does and the things he thinks about, I have never understood. Just like a quail lying on the ground, it can never understand the joy of an eagle spreading its wings and soaring. All I can see is the small piece of world in front of me. But sometimes I also want him to talk to me about the scenery he sees. But he always says there's no topic between us, and that it's a waste of breath even if he tells me. I moved my lips about to speak, but Jiang Yao covered her mouth and laughed. She said, "Since she's already here, let her go." Jiang Yufeng frowned at her and said, "Are you sure? She doesn't understand anything." But Jiang Yao said, "Let her come and just drink some drinks." Jiang Yufeng is indeed right. I really can't integrate into his circle. At the dinner, they talked about topics enthusiastically, while I could only keep my head down and stay silent. Sitting in the corner, I drank the drinks silently. In the end, I drank up all the drinks and had a full stomach of water. Jiang Yao abruptly ended the topic and asked me, "Is the drink enough? If not, I can ask the waiter to bring you more." I looked up and met Jiang Yuchuan's cold gaze. I knew he was angry, and thought I had embarrassed him. I silently pursed my lips and said, "No thanks." Jiang Yao laughed again, picked up the painting wrapped in craft paper in my bag, and asked curiously, "What's this? A gift for Yufeng? Can we take a look?" Before I could reply, she had already torn off the outer wrapping paper and commented on my painting. "I don't understand. What's the use of giving this to Yufeng?" Indeed, it was of little use. It was just a painting, just like me in Jiang Yufeng's eyes, merely a beautiful ornament, good for nothing. Jiang Yao shook her head, handed the painting back to me, and added, "I think you'd better take it back. Yufeng definitely won't want this. I've been to his dormitory. It's very messy, and there's no extra space to keep such a useless ornament." In an instant, everyone's eyes were on me. Embarrassment and humiliation pressed down on me heavily. After a long while, it was Jiang Yufeng's teacher who spoke. "This must be Yufeng's girlfriend. Don't take it to heart. We mathematicians are straightforward. We don't have as many romantic thoughts as you art students." He turned to Jiang Yufeng and said, "Yufeng, the dinner is almost over. See your girlfriend off, and let her go back first." I got up and left. When I reached the door, I heard him say, "In my opinion, Yao Yao and Yufeng are more suitable. They're both my students. They match well in terms of education and appearance. Finding a girlfriend, just being beautiful is not very useful." I paused at the door, but in the end, I felt dispirited and left with Jiang Yufeng. Since I started dating Jiang Yufeng, he rarely gave me gifts. Every time I envied those couples who could have meals, go on dates, and watch movies together, he would always sneer. In his view, if I loved him, I should understand him. He would rather do math problems for 3 days and 3 nights than spare half an hour to spend on me, having a meal and chatting with me. On the way, Jiang Yufeng walked behind, frowning and thinking about something. With him around, I finally had a glimmer of hope in my heart. I racked my brains thinking of topics that might interest him. I was just about to open my mouth. "Yufeng?" But the next moment, Jiang Yufeng interrupted me first. "I think there's something I must make clear to you first." I turned to look at him, thinking he wanted to explain about Jiang Yao. But the next moment he said, "Can you stop coming to see me in the future?" I was stunned, hearing the sound of my heart shattering in the air. I stared blankly at him and asked, "Why? I'm your girlfriend." Jiang Yufeng then said, "Can't you see that it's not easy for our Stamen to have a get-together? But because of your presence, everyone didn't enjoy themselves? We're not from the same path in the first place. Why bother? You're uncomfortable, and so are we." He added, "Also, don't call or message me recently. I'm very busy these days and don't have time to reply to you. Every time your message comes, it interrupts my train of thought. I'm not as idle as you. You don't understand my pressure." I stood there sadly and finally said woodenly, "Okay." But the next moment, Jiang Yao chased out from the restaurant. She smiled playfully at Jiang Yufeng and said, "Yufeng, can you buy me the milk tea at the entrance of their art university later? I've ordered it as takeout. It tastes good. And the fruit salad on the opposite street is also nice. Buy me a portion." Jiang Yufeng sighed helplessly. "Missy, are you done ordering?" Jiang Yao glanced at me and then said, "And the stir-fried chestnuts I like the most. Later I'll send you the file. Print something for me." "Oh, why are you like this? It's just asking you to run an errand. Are you this impatient with your own girlfriend too?" Jiang Yao was wrong. How dare I make such requests to Jiang Yufeng? Every time I would timidly ask him what he needed, and then buy it, and send it to him. I was also afraid that my caring messages would disturb his study, and make him unhappy. So he was willing to buy milk tea and snacks for a girl. He also had the patience to listen to a girl's miscellaneous requests. It's just that that girl wasn't me. For back at school, I didn't sleep all night. I lay in bed, flipping through our previous chat records, trying to find some proof that he loved me. Before, I was a chatterbox, always having endless topics and new things to share. Whenever I saw something, I wanted to show it to him. But Jiang Yufeng didn't like it, and told me not to bother him with such unnutritious things. Later, I even had to be cautious when chatting with him. I would deliberate over 8 out of 10 sentences, wanting to care about him and know his current situation. Even if his reply was just a few short words, as long as I saw the red number on his profile, it could make me happy. But now looking back, his replies to me were really few. The most he said were anything, and anything else? So much so that I couldn't draw any warmth from his words, and had to swallow the ice shards in my heart. Jiang Yao posted on Moments, showing off the things Jiang Yufeng bought for her. There was also a 9-square grid photo of the two of them eating together. Sui-ho, she posted a photo of herself leaning on Jiang Yufeng's shoulder and captioned it, "I'm very happy today because someone said that if he had met me first, he would definitely be with me." That's enough. My heart seemed to be stabbed suddenly, and it hurt so much. I stared at the photo on my phone for a long time, unable to recover. Jiang Yufeng's call came unexpectedly. It also pulled me out of my depressed thoughts, and gave me a glimmer of comfort. The voice on the other end of the phone was still magnetic and deep. Do you have time tomorrow? I composed myself and actually had a glimmer of hope. Yes. Jiang Yufeng said. My mom is going to the hospital for a check-up tomorrow. I can't spare the time. Can you accompany her? He still thought of me. At least, when he asked me to accompany his mom to the hospital, he still regarded me as his girlfriend, which was a kind of tacit recognition of our relationship. I nodded. Okay. I asked one more question. Do you have time tomorrow to have a meal with me and your mom? But on his side, the phone had already been hung up. 5. Jiang Yufeng's family had once encountered a banggu. This might also be the reason why he agreed to be with me. His father used to drive a truck. One night, he accidentally hit and killed several people, lost his life, and his family faced huge compensation. My family was in business and had some money. At that time, I was afraid it would affect his study, so I begged my parents for several days before finally getting the money to help his family out of trouble. At that time, Jiang Yufeng moved his lips and said, "Consider it a loan from you. I'll pay you back in the future." His mother was hit hard by that banggu, and her health became even worse. When the situation was serious, she needed to be hospitalized for observation for several days. Jiang Yufeng was very busy and had no time to take care of his mother. Therefore, most of the time, I was the one who stayed in the ward, serving tea and water. The people in the same ward praised me every time. Your family is really lucky. Your daughter-in-law is beautiful and filial to you even before she gets married. Secretly, the aunt in the same ward took my hand and sighed. Silly girl, you're not even married yet. Why are you doing such dirty work here? Whether he'll marry you in the future is still uncertain. Be careful of making wedding clothes for others. But I had no complaints or regrets. When you love someone, you're willing to be good to them. How can you care about gains and losses and calculate whether he'll marry you in the future? Aunt Jiang brought special products for Jiang Yufeng and asked me to deliver them to him. Did Yufeng make you angry again? He has that stubborn temper. You just need to be more tolerant of him. Finally, she gave me the things and patted my hand, telling me not to worry. Just tell him that I said you're the daughter-in-law I've recognized for a long time. No one else will do. I gave her a bitter smile and didn't say anything. When I took the things to Jiang Yufeng's school, I happened to meet him and Jiang Yao. Jiang Yao grabbed his sleeve. Yufeng, thank you for accompanying me to the interview. I was so scared just now. I felt at ease when I saw you. When they saw me, they both stopped. My eyes turned red, but I held back my tears. Jiang Yao put on an embarrassed expression. You two talk first. Don't forget to come out and have a meal together tonight. Consider it my treat to thank you. After Jiang Yao left, Jiang Yufeng suddenly said to me, "Are you serious?" I sneered and finally the tears fell. The lie that I had been constantly deceiving myself with could no longer be sustained. I gritted my teeth and asked him with a sob, "You left your mom to me and accompanied her to the interview?" He replied with a calm expression, "Just accompanying my mom for a routine check-up. I didn't ask you to do anything extraordinary." Jiang Yao got an interview at a big company. She was very nervous alone, so she asked me to accompany her. Which is more important, a person's future, or you being jealous over trivial matters? I know you're stupid, but you should still be able to tell the difference between what's important and what's not. Yes, I'm stupid. Almost everyone told me that Jiang Yufeng didn't love me. At least, he definitely didn't love me enough. But I was still head over heels for him. I always thought that it was okay for me to be stupid as long as Jiang Yufeng was smart, right? In the future, he could be successful in his field. I would just follow him and give him a home without any worries. But now it seems that I'm really stupid. But even a stupid person knows how to feel pain. And a stupid person also knows that when it hurts, they should let go. I took a step back and finally said to him, "Jiang Yufeng, let's break up." 6. Jiang Yufeng didn't attempt to hold me back. Perhaps for him, this was a kind of relief. Or perhaps he thought I was being unreasonable, and that as long as he ignored me, I would come crawling back, begging for reconciliation. I was like a walking corpse as I returned to school. I walked round and round on the school playground, heart broken yet trying to persuade myself to sever this relationship. By the time it got dark and my feet were sore from walking, I suddenly realized that I was the only one left on the playground. Finally, my emotions got the better of me and I crouched on the ground crying. In the middle of the night, a figure climbed over the wall and landed not far from me. Lu Tong saw me, froze for a moment, and then immediately rolled up his sleeves and threatened me. "All right, you little rascal. I finally caught you." Seeing my miserable sobbing state, he was taken aback again, and his hands and feet seemed to retract in confusion. Why are you crying?" Lu Tong was sort of my childhood acquaintance, but I wasn't very familiar with him. In short, his parents were in business and had cooperation with my family. When he was a child, Lu Tong was left in the countryside by his parents to live with his grandfather. He wasn't brought back until he was in his teens. By then Lu Tong had gone astray. His parents had high hopes for him, thinking that Lu Tong could get into a good university and become a qualified heir to their wealth in the future. Unfortunately, Lu Tong was a bit of a slowpoke. Although I was a poor student, I was at least a principled one, abiding by laws and regulations, and never causing trouble for my parents and teachers. But Lu Tong was different. He was used to catching birds and walking dogs in the countryside. Skipping classes and getting into fights were common occurrences for him. He was even expelled in the second semester of his senior year of high school. Later, when his parents learned that I was studying art, they got an idea. Although their son was a good-for-nothing, it would be nice if he could be exposed to some art and become an elegant good-for-nothing. So, Lu Tong was inserted into the art class with the help of money. But Lu Tong didn't like painting. He only liked playing the eru. At school, every day when I opened my eyes, I would hear him making grand plans to his classmates. He wanted to form a band and expand it into an entertainment company in the future, making every classmate an internet celebrity. Later, his parents asked me what Lu Tong had been up to at school, and I told them truthfully. Then Lu Tong got beaten when he went home. His mother broke his eru and cut off his living expenses. Before, in order to form the band, Lu Tong had raised a lot of money. His parents were so angry that they left him to fend for himself and told him to find a way to pay back the money. Thus over time he held a grudge against me. 7. Seeing me crying, Lu Tong turned around and wanted to run. But in the end he stayed, sitting humbly beside me. He was in a dilemma and tried to negotiate with me. Can you wait until I've settled the score with you before you keep crying? I ignored him and continued sobbing and shedding tears. He scratched his head and gave in. Alright, you cry first. After you're done crying, I'll come to settle the score with you. After about 10 minutes, Lu Tong started to pull his hair in frustration. He squeezed his face with both hands, looking as if he was withering. Ancestral grandma, I was wrong. How about you tell me first why you're crying? He ordered takeout for me, bought water, and also got a dessert cake. He silently placed the cake in front of me. Eat some cake first. I heard that when girls are in a bad mood, they like to eat something sweet. Then he pushed the bottle of water over. Or, you can drink some water. Mainly, seeing you crying so sadly, I'm afraid you'll get dehydrated. My heart ached again. Jiang Yufeng never knew how to comfort me. In our long relationship, I had never eaten a cake he bought, not even had a bottle of water. It seemed that every time I was half dead in bed due to menstrual cramps, his perfunctory, drink more hot water, could make me happy for several days. I sniffed and choked out. I think I'm such a fool. A big idiot. Lu Tong exclaimed in surprise. But my parents said you're excellent in both character and learning, and told me to learn from you. I gave him a look. It depends on who you're comparing with. Lu Tong felt embarrassed and touched his nose, then said boldly, there's a way for fools to live, right? Not everyone can be a genius with good genes. How tiring it is to be a smart person. There has to be someone to be the fool at the bottom, right? I thought what he said made some sense. I finally stopped crying. Lu Tong be my boyfriend. Lu Tong froze again. What? I sat cross-legged on the ground and analyzed. Barged. I heard that the best way to get over a broken heart is to start a new relationship. You pretend to be my boyfriend to help me get out of the shadow of this broken relationship, and I'll pay off that debt for you. Lu Tong eyed me suspiciously. Do you have money? In high school, I had begged and pleaded with my dad to get several million to pay off the Jiang family's debt. My parents, to teach me a lesson, cut my pocket money and living expenses. I stiffened for a moment and stubbornly said, no, but I can earn it. Lu Tong was silent again. After a few minutes, he let out a hiss. Mainly, I've never been in a relationship before, and I don't know what it's like. I opened my mouth, then wilted in frustration. In fact, I didn't really know what a proper relationship was like either. When I was with Jiang Yufeng, I just gave my all to be good to him. I never made any demands on him, and he rarely did anything for me. But at least I had more experience than Lu Tong. I stiffened my neck and stubbornly said, haven't eaten pork, but haven't seen a pig run? 8. The next day, Lu Tong stood downstairs of the girls' dormitory with breakfast in hand. Unfortunately, he had bad luck and ran into my brother. So when he was riding his motorcycle, showing off his fluttering yellow hair in the wind, he met my brother's cold gaze. My brother frowned and looked at the breakfast in his hand. What the hell is this? Lu Tong was so scared that he stuttered. I saw other boyfriends bring breakfast to their girlfriends and accompany them to class, so my brother took a deep breath and turned to look at me. So, do you want his left leg broken or his right leg? Lu Tong put down the breakfast and ran away in a flash. But he came back soon. This time, his image was no longer that of a wild-looking youth, but a little boy with a neat haircut, looking a bit green and well-behaved. I turned to my brother and grinned, turning over a new leaf. My brother still looked at him with disgust. More like a genetic mutation. I have to say Lu Tong was doing a pretty good job as a fake boyfriend. He no longer skipped classes. Even if it was just to accompany me, he would sit in the classroom. Although he always looked like a big dog trapped in a cage, lying on the table depressedly scribbling. When it rained, he knew to bring me an umbrella. When I was sick, he knew to bring me medicine. When I was suffering from menstrual cramps, with cold sweat on my forehead, Lu Tong directly dragged me back to the dormitory to rest. He bought a bunch of things like brown sugar, ginger candy and painkillers. Even in the middle of summer, he ran to several stores to buy me some hot compress stickers. I drank the sugar water contentedly. Lu Tong, thank you. Lu Tong replied firmly, it's what a boyfriend should do. I was puzzled. How do you know? He scratched his head sheepishly. I searched it online. Lu Tong's search history was full of entries like, what to do when your girlfriend has menstrual cramps. What kind of boyfriend do girls like? 36 stratagems of love. And 100 ways to make your girlfriend happy. I was stunned. Just as I was touched, Lu Tong's stomach growled suddenly. He covered his stomach, a bit embarrassed. My parents cut me off. I used all my money to buy these things, so there won't be any breakfast for you tomorrow. I suddenly burst out laughing. Lu Tong raised his voice nervously. Don't laugh. When my parents calm down, I'll treat you to a big meal. I patted his shoulder earnestly. Come on, I'll take you to a big meal. After eating, we'll go make money. 9. The way I thought of to make money was to set up a street stall to sell paintings. After all, I was a fool. Besides painting, I was good for nothing. Lu Tong also took up his arrow business. So, I set up a stall to sell paintings, and Lu Tong set up a stall to play the arrow. The tune was still moon reflected on second spring. So full of pathos. Our business wasn't going well. I was shy and just stood there stiffly. In the bustling street performance atmosphere of the night market, I was completely unremarkable. Lu Tong's business wasn't going well either. After all, when people saw a handsome guy in brand name clothes playing the arrow, no one would think he was begging. We busied ourselves for a long time, but didn't earn a single cent. Finally, Lu Tong found a solution. How about we combine our efforts? So it became him playing the arrow to help me sell paintings. Lu Tong had a thick skin. While playing the arrow, he would also chant plaintively to the passers-by, buy one. Please just buy one. There are many fools in the world, many handsome guys, and many street performers playing the arrow. But combined, a full handsome guy street performer who can play the arrow is very rare. The video of Lu Tong playing the arrow to sell paintings was even posted online, and became a bit popular, and our business got better. In the night market, I once saw Jiang Yufeng and Jiang Yao. They came out for a stroll with their classmates. Jiang Yao was holding Jiang Yufeng's arm, chatting and laughing. Since I broke up with Jiang Yufeng, Jiang Yao had deleted me as a friend. But I knew that on the day we broke up, she posted a moment's blessing Jiang Yufeng for regaining his single status and freedom. Seeing me, Jiang Yufeng froze for a moment. Jiang Yao hugged his arm even tighter. But the next moment, Jiang Yufeng uncomfortably pulled his arm away. His gaze fell on Lu Tong, who was Don Xin playing the arrow, and his eyes and lips simultaneously showed a look of contempt and disdain. I pretended not to see him, and sat contentedly on the stool, drinking milk tea. The small stool was bought by Lu Tong. He said selling paintings was too tiring, and told me to sit at the back, and just collect the money. With the money we earned, he would happily buy me cakes, milk tea and stir-fried chestnuts. He also praised me for looking cute when I ate, like a little hamster. But Jiang Yufeng didn't like it. He said I looked like an idiot when I ate. But now who cares if he likes it or not? As long as I'm happy. 10. Lu Tong and I set up the street stall for a month, and earned quite a bit. The first earnings, of course, were to pay Lu Tong for pretending to be my boyfriend, so that he could pay off his debt. But he slapped all the money on the table for me. I heard you owe your family several million, and your parents deducted your pocket money. Take this money back to them, and tell them that now you can earn money on your own. Maybe they'll be so happy that they'll stop punishing you. I asked, then what about you? Lu Tong said brazenly, I've paid off all those debts. He put his arm around my shoulder and said triumphantly, come on, I'll take you for a ride. I promised to treat you to a big meal before. Now I have the money. Lu Tong often rode his motorcycle for rides, thinking it was super cool. But now, what was parked downstairs of the dormitory was a bicycle. I asked him, where's your motorcycle? Lu Tong explained, mainly I think that thing is unsafe. Dozens of motorcycle bloggers I followed, half of them are dead. I looked into his eyes. Tell me the truth. Lu Tong scratched his head and said, I sold the motorcycle. Isn't it almost graduation? Soon classmates will go their separate ways. I can't chase after them to ask for the money back, can I? Besides, that thing is really unsafe. Before it was just me. But now there's you, isn't there? Lu Tong said that since he was a child, his grandfather had taught him that one could be incompetent, but not shameless. One should be honest, and must pay back the money owed. He said his grandfather was very good at playing the arrow, and always looked full of energy when playing it. He learned the arrow from his grandfather. When he called his grandfather when he was young, and knew he was still playing, his grandfather would laugh cheerfully. Lu Tong said he also had a big yellow dog that grew up with him. Every time he learned the arrow from his grandfather, the big yellow dog would lie at his feet, listening obediently. But later his grandfather passed away. When he and his parents went back to the countryside for the funeral, only the big yellow dog was left at home. His parents lied to him that they would take the big yellow dog with them. But when the car door closed, he only saw the big yellow dog running after them desperately. He seemed to have a home, yet also seemed to become a wild child wandering with the big yellow dog. Lu Tong said, "My big yellow is so smart. It used to pick me up from school every day. It knew the way. Even if it ran into the mountains, it could survive. It must still be looking for me and my grandfather." 11. I was in a complete mess crying. Lu Tong leaned over and looked at me. "Why are you crying again? After so many days of treatment? Don't tell me you're thinking of that scumbag again." "No, of course not. I just suddenly realized that there are many kinds of feelings in the world. And I don't only have Jiang Yufeng. Now I don't want to shed tears for Jiang Yufeng anymore." Lu Tong asked me again. "Then can I still be your boyfriend in the future? I mean, without you paying me? I'll do it for free." I nodded, wiped away my tears and smiled again. The news that I was with Lu Tong was like a nuclear bomb exploding between our two families. My brother looked conflicted and explained for us. "This is how it is." He glanced at Lu Tong and added, "Although the probability is a bit low, there's still a possibility of genetic mutation." Lu Tong's parents were like their own pig had eaten our family's cabbages. They apologized. "Although my son is indeed a fool, but he's probably a fool who knows how to care about people." My parents finally acquiesced to our relationship. That day, Lu Tong held my hand, confirmed it repeatedly, and laughed cheerfully for a long time. "From now on I have a girlfriend. I'm different from those single dogs out there," he solemnly promised me. "Although I'm not very smart, I'll start early like a slow-flying bird." Well, maybe it's a bit late to start, but I can fly for a long time. I'm not afraid of hardship. I'll fly a little more every day. Anyway, being my girlfriend, I definitely won't let you suffer. Lu Tong was a slow-flying bird, and so was I. Life is so long, and the scenery is so beautiful. Then let's fly slowly. That night, after a long time, I received a call from Jiang Yufeng. His voice was hoarse and pained. "My mother's illness is very serious. She wants to see us get married as soon as possible." I just felt pitiful and funny. "Jiang Yufeng, did you come to me because of your mother?" He was silent on the other end. It was not until I was about to hang up that he hurriedly said, "No. These days I finally figured out one thing. I really like you and can't live without you. Come back, okay? Just give me a chance." I interrupted him. "Unfortunately, I don't want you anymore." 12. Jiang Yufeng came to see me. That day Lu Tong and I found a new online famous store near the school. Stir-fried watermelon with sugar, vinegar dressed grapes and green pepper flavored mango? Are these things really edible? Strange things may not be edible, but things this strange, it would be a pity not to try them. So the two of us queued for 2 hours, and once again made fools of ourselves. Lu Tong took a bite of the green pepper flavored mango, and his face wrinkled so much that it could crush 2 mosquitoes. "It doesn't taste good." I picked up a grape, dipped it in watermelon juice and laughed too. Sure enough, it doesn't taste good. Then, we both covered our mouths and laughed painfully. Jiang Yufeng came, glanced at Lu Tong next to me, and didn't take him seriously at all. His eyes fixed on the dark cuisine in my hand, and he commented, "This kind of store is obviously a waste of money. You're still eating it." I retorted, "I like it." "So what?" Jiang Yufeng added, "And you queued for so long. With this spare time, you might as well spend it on something meaningful." I retorted again, "I like it." "So what?" Jiang Yufeng had nothing to say. He turned to Lu Tong. "These days you've been degenerating with this hooligan?" I stood in front of Lu Tong. "Jiang Yufeng, watch your mouth. Lu Tong is my boyfriend now. You have no right to talk about him." Jiang Yufeng looked at us even more strangely. After a moment he sneered, "Boyfriend? To stimulate me and get my attention. You can even fancy this kind of person?" Before I was wrong. I ignored your feelings. I'm willing to apologize and correct. What else do you want me to do? I was so angry that I couldn't speak. Lu Tong, however, raised his voice and shouted, "Who are you? So annoying. I'm having a meal with my girlfriend. What's it to you?" He picked up a piece of green pepper-flavored mango, deliberately smacked his lips and continued, "The dish my girlfriend ordered. What's it to you?" Then he calmly took a bite of the grape, looking very enjoying it. "The grape my girlfriend likes is so sweet. My girlfriend likes it. What's it to you?" Jiang Yufeng left with a sullen face, pushed out by Lu Tong. I looked at Lu Tong in disbelief. "You really like it?" The next moment Lu Tong spat towards the trash can. "Quick, give me water. It's so spicy and sweet. It tastes terrible." 13. Jiang Yufeng always believed that I was with Lu Tong to stimulate him, until Lu Tong and I held an engagement party. He, who was always cold and proud, lost his composure for the first time, and burst into our engagement scene. He asked me heartbrokenly, "Are you really going to get engaged to this hooligan? You're angry. You can make a fuss in any way you want. But don't bet on your lifelong gushir." Finally he looked at Lu Tong and said, "I know you're stupid, but you shouldn't be so reckless and muddle-headed." I held the flowers and walked step by step towards Jiang Yufeng. When he showed a relieved expression, thinking I was running towards him, the next moment, a slap woke him up completely. "Jiang Yufeng, guests are welcome. If you're here to bless Lu Tong and me, then you're welcome. If you're here to cause trouble and embarrass me and my fiancé, Then don't blame me for being rude to you. Jiang Yufeng stared at me blankly, and finally understood that I really wanted to marry Lu Tong. He moved his lips and finally asked that question. Why? Why would you rather choose him than me? I straightened my back and replied. Because Lu Tong has never disdained me for being stupid. Because even though he knows I'm stupid, and it's a waste of time, he's still willing to be stupid with me. Jiang Yufeng couldn't believe it. Just for this? I nodded. Just for this. Jiang Yufeng, it was too tiring to be with you. You never wanted to slow down to accompany me. Nor did you ever want to tell me about your things. You just flew in your sky, leaving me to chase after you in a sorry state on the ground. Even if I was bleeding from falling, you couldn't see. You thought accompanying me for a meal was a waste of time, and accompanying me to watch a movie was a waste of time. Even when I wanted you to talk to me, you thought I was being stupid and disturbing you. Then what did I need you a boyfriend for? Was I living too happily every day and looking for trouble for myself? I drove Jiang Yufeng out of the engagement party. The security guards rushed in and dragged him out. In all the time I had known Jiang Yufeng, it was the first time I saw him in such a sorry state. I heard that Jiang Yao confessed to Jiang Yufeng, but Jiang Yufeng rejected her. What happened at Lu Tong's and my engagement party was spread online, and Jiang Yufeng and Jiang Yao became the laughingstock. Everyone scolded Jiang Yufeng as a purebred scumbag and Jiang Yao as a scheming vixen. Originally, Jiang Yufeng and Jiang Yao were recommended for a master's degree at Beijing University, but because of the scandal, their places were cancelled. Now they were like Ratskojia, hated by everyone. Even though they were extremely intelligent and had the title of genius, they still couldn't hide the stench on them. After the engagement, Lu Tong and I went back to his hometown. Lu Tong's hometown was a famous Eru-producing area. After several visits, we decided to open a store. I sold my paintings and he sold his heiress. Lu Tong had accumulated a lot of fans on his account. Now he really became a small internet celebrity. He would occasionally live stream playing the Eru, touting my paintings while introducing the musical instruments and local customs of his hometown, with a look of pride and joy on his face. Often fans would tease him, and Lu Tong would get angry. Don't talk nonsense. I have a wife. The paintings behind me were painted by my wife. Do you like me? Then buy one. Our days passed plainly and happily, just as Lu Tong said. Fools also have their way of living. As for Jiang Yufeng and Jiang Yao, I haven't had any more contact with them. People who have become the past should be left in the past. The end.